Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this conversation with David Gauke.
I think the audience is right, if I may say so. I think this was a budget that makes the UK more competitive. I think it is small businesses that are going to benefit most, although both large businesses and individuals I think will benefit from it. And I think it is essential that we remain committed to deficit reduction. Well, there are a number of objectives for the budget. First, we've got to live within our means, and we've got to continue with the plan to reduce the deficit in difficult circumstances. So reasserting our commitment to doing that. Secondly, we want to help those who aspire to own their own home, to run their own business, and we've got a number of measures in the budget there. Help with housing, the employment allowance that will make it easier for small businesses to take on their first employee, so important steps there. Third, we want to help people with the cost of living. Within the limited room for manoeuvre that we have, we've got measures like cancelling the fuel duty increase, increasing the personal allowance, cancelling the beer duty escalator and taking a penny off a pint, so measures there. And then fourth, I would say, is making the UK more competitive, about the UK succeeding in the global race. That's why we've cut corporation tax to 20%. That's why we've taken stamp duty off shares that are traded on AIM. It's all about demonstrating that the UK is competitive, that this is a good place in which to invest and to locate.
I think a lot of things came through in the budget that was good for business. For me, I work mostly with larger companies, and I think the headline corporate tax rate, the simplicity of the banner headline of 20% for investors from outside the UK and for those making decisions at board levels, it's a big statement about the competitiveness of the UK. So I was really pleased to see that announced, and which is going to come through in legislation in the summer.
Well, before the budget, we said that this was the Chancellor's last chance to do something positive for business before the next election. I actually think that the Chancellor delivered on a number of issues, because the backdrop for this budget was pretty grim economic news, but there are some very positive things that the Chancellor did, in particular for smaller businesses with the employer's NI, but also the headline rate of corporation tax coming down to 20% sends a very positive message throughout the world that the UK has a competitive mainstream rate of tax.
We're giving additional support and finance to HMRC, we're giving additional powers to HMRC, we're bringing in a general anti-abuse rule. We've announced a number of specific measures to deal with tax avoidance that's going to bring in considerable sums of money. We do believe that in the current circumstances in particular, when times are not necessarily easy for people, a lot of big sacrifices, is right that we deal with aggressive, artificial, contrived avoidance behaviour that's not consistent with what Parliament intends, that is giving some people an unfair advantage. So we're taking steps to deal with that. It is in the context of ensuring that the UK is competitive. We've got low rates, but we want to make sure that people pay the tax that is due under the law.
Accountants have come under attack over the last year or so, and I think it's important to distinguish the attacks and where they're coming from. It's not really government who is attacking the accountants. I think it's a number of lobby groups and MPs who are concerned about the activities of accountants. I think there's a very legitimate debate to be had about the amount of tax that people pay, especially given the deficits that we've got. I think it's counterproductive, though, to single out individual companies who are complying with the law for failings in the wider tax system, or challenges in the wider tax system, particularly ones which are global. Those need to be fixed globally, and domestic ones need to be fixed rather than picking on individual companies. So there's a lot to be done. I think the G8, the G20 debates over this summer will help with that.
Well, with regard to the comments that the Chancellor made in the budget about naming and shaming promoters of tax schemes that were on the wrong side of the line, I was pleased to see that the Chancellor did not use the term accountants, which is something that I've talked about to the government in previous autumn statements and budgets. I think that the government are recognising that the tax system works because of accountants, not in spite of accountants. And I do believe that they are going to be more open in future in terms of recognising the role the profession plays. So, broadly speaking, I think the balance is now getting to a position we can be more comfortable with.
Has the government got the resource to make the tax system easier? I think so. I think the announcement of the 20% tax rate should result in further simplifications because we'll have the same rate for small companies as for big companies. I think ultimately it would be nice if we had greater simplification between national insurance and PAYE, so we didn't have different rules for both, and I think for smaller companies that'd be a big help. I think the government is working on that. It's very complex, and of course it's very hard in deficit times for the government to give up any revenues, and there's usually always a cost of doing these things. So I think it's on the agenda, but I'd like to see more progress made on that as well.
Yeah, I think you can say that we are broadly pleased with the budget, but the economic backdrop is absolutely awful, and I have to say that the OBR's forecasting record does leave a lot to be desired. So let's see if those forecast numbers of 0.6 growth for this current year are actually achieved.